Welcome back, Freaksters. I'm Mr. Freaky, and this is another spine-chilling episode of Is It Real? Where each week I present you with 3 terrifying stories, and it's up to you to guess which ones are true and which ones are pure fiction. But first, in our last episode, the beginning story was true. He's from Venezuela, and he is a very, very sick individual. The second story, about the sculptor, was made up, which most of you got. And the third story, about the twin girls, June and Jennifer Gibbons, was also true. So last week's shoutout goes to Green Dragon Girl. Congrats. Now let's delve into this week's tales. Story 1. The Striped Shirt Man. In the past, a man shared a truly horrifying story on Reddit. Though it initially seemed like a ghost story, the real explanation turned out to be far more chilling. When he was 7 and his brother was 10, a simple nighttime routine turned into a nightmare. One evening, his brother confided in him that he was going to use the bathroom before bed, instead of in the middle of the night, as he usually did. His brother admitted he was too scared to walk to the bathroom in the early morning hours, because he kept seeing a man wearing stripes at the end of the hallway. Hearing his terrified younger brother, he became so frightened that he would sprint to the bedroom every night, dreading the thought of seeing a ghost through the large windows at the end of the hall. Fast forward 11 years to when the man turned 18. He was having a casual conversation with his mom about a dog they had briefly when he was little. The dog was known for getting into mischief. His mom recalled one incident when she opened the door for the police, and the pup dashed into the kitchen, tearing open a big bag of dog food. The man had no memory of the police ever visiting their home, so he questioned his mom further. She hesitated for a moment, and then revealed a shocking secret she had kept from him because he was too young at the time. She recounted how one night she had been awakened by noises outside her window. When she looked, she saw a man staring into her bedroom. She quickly turned on the lights, causing the man to flee. She called 911 and described the intruder to the police. A tall white male, wearing a striped shirt and jeans, with short dark hair. The police informed her that the description matched a man they were searching for in the area, who had escaped from jail on a murder charge. At the time, the man didn't connect the incident with his brother's sightings. It wasn't until years later, in his mid-20s, that the pieces fell into place. Reflecting on those 2 stories, his brother's repeated sightings of a man in stripes and his mother's terrifying encounter, he realized the horrifying truth. His brother had unknowingly warned the family about a murderer who had been casing their home for multiple nights. Story 2. A very well-documented UFO encounter. A serene and picturesque area harbors a dark secret that has haunted one family for decades. This is the story of an encounter that turned their lives upside down and remains one of the most perplexing mysteries of our time. Decades ago, an industrial mechanic and an amateur geologist ventured into the woods to prospect for minerals. On a clear spring day, he was startled by a sudden commotion as a flock of birds erupted into the sky. When he looked up, he saw 2 cigar-shaped objects with a strange reddish glow hovering nearby. One of the objects descended and landed on a flat section of rock, transforming into a disc shape. The other hovered for a few minutes before flying away at an incredible speed. Believing it to be a secret military craft, he sketched the object for about 30 minutes before deciding to approach it. As he got closer, he noted the warm air, the smell of sulfur, and the whirring sound of motors. He saw a door open on the side of the craft, with bright lights inside, and heard muffled voices. Calling out in multiple languages, he received no response other than the mechanical sounds. He touched the smooth, seamless metal of the craft, which was hot enough to melt the fingertips of his gloves. Suddenly, the craft began to rotate, and a blast of air or gas shot out from a panel, striking him in the chest and setting his clothes on fire. Disoriented and in pain, he tore off his burning shirt as the craft lifted off and disappeared into the sky. He stumbled back to his campsite, vomiting and feeling nauseous. He managed to make his way back to his lodging, and then traveled to the nearest city for medical treatment. He was admitted to the hospital with severe burns on his chest and stomach, that later developed into a grid-like pattern of sores. For weeks, he suffered from debilitating symptoms, diarrhea, headaches, blackouts, and weight loss. His story quickly gained media attention, and soon their home was besieged by reporters, investigators, and curious onlookers. His son vividly remembers the upheaval that followed. The house was filled with a strong, unpleasant odor that seemed to emanate from his father. The media frenzy and the public's interest in the story turned their lives upside down, leading to years of scrutiny and stress. Despite the intense investigation by local law enforcement, military officials, and various government agencies, no definitive explanation for the incident was ever found. His health continued to deteriorate, and he struggled with the lingering effects of the encounter until his death decades later. There was a thorough investigation of the landing area, showcasing anomalies where the craft had landed and taken off from. His melted glove and a photo of the burned grid pattern on his abdomen, which could never be fully explained by medical professionals. The incident remains one of the best documented and most mysterious encounters of its kind. Alright, now let's move on to the final story, which will once again make you think twice about exploring the woods alone. The Lost Hiker. In a dense remote forest, a series of strange disappearances have left locals baffled and fearful. This is the story of one such disappearance and the terrifying truth that was uncovered. A couple decades ago, a young woman, an avid hiker, decided to explore a well-known trail that wound through a dense forest. She was well prepared and experienced, equipped with a map, compass, and plenty of supplies. She planned a solo hike that would take her deep into the heart of the forest, aiming to return before nightfall. She had told her family she would be back by dusk, but when she didn't return, her worried parents contacted the authorities. A search party was quickly organized, and volunteers began combing the forest. They found signs of her journey: a water bottle, a hat, and footprints, but no trace of her body anywhere. The search continued for weeks, but she seemed to have vanished without a trace. Nearly a year later, a group of hikers stumbled upon her backpack near an abandoned cabin deep in the woods. Inside the backpack, they found her journal. The entries provided a haunting account of her final days. She had become lost and disoriented, despite her experience and preparation. She described hearing strange noises at night, whispers, footsteps, and even someone snickering from just beyond the tree line. Her last entry detailed her discovery of a cabin. She described taking refuge there, noting the eerie feeling that someone or something was watching her through the windows, which she tried covering with a shelf and a desk. She mentioned hearing footsteps outside the cabin at night and seeing strange lights coming through the cracks in the cabin. Her final words were a desperate plea for help, expressing fear that she wouldn't make it out alive. When authorities searched the cabin, they found signs of someone having taken refuge there, and the outside of the cabin was marked with strange symbols, which after being translated, appeared to be of ancient Egyptian origin. Investigators examined the cabin and found signs that someone had indeed taken shelter there. Despite extensive searches around the cabin, though, no further trace of the girl was ever found. Local legends began to resurface, telling of an old hermit who once lived in the forest and was rumored to have practiced dark rituals. Some believed that his spirit still haunted the woods, preying on lost travelers. While these tales were dismissed by many as mere superstition, the lack of an alternative story and the other strange circumstances surrounding the girl's disappearance left room for doubt. Her disappearance remains an unsolved mystery, a chilling reminder of the dangers that can lurk in the wilderness. And that's going to do it. Go ahead and comment below which stories you think were true and which were false. I'll select one random correct answer to get a shout out in next week's episode. Until next time, have a horrific evening, everyone, and remember to stay spooky, my friends.